Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Tattoo Homewreckers, a podcast where we talk about tattoos, life, and everything in between. Gaia is laughing yet again, and my name is Callista. Great to see you guys.
Hi. So we're just going to start out, or I guess I'm going to start out and state that this is a super vulnerable episode. It is going to be a rough one. We're going to talk about eating disorders, body images, and OnlyFans. Mm-hmm. So, enjoy this journey. And even if you don't have issues with eating disorders, you might love someone that does.
Exactly.
And I personally absolutely love Callie's approach to it. Mm-hmm. So I really wanted to do this episode more so that way she could share her philosophy on it with the world.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to get down and dirty with it. So obviously one of us has an eating disorder and one of us doesn't.
Yes. So as you can surmise, hi, I'm Gaia, and I have an eating disorder. Now, let's come out and talk about the fact that, I have not been formally diagnosed. So a little side note from that is that I genuinely do not believe that to have something or to explain that you have something, you have to be formally diagnosed.
Yes, agreed.
Because I personally, and this is nothing against professionals that deal with people with eating disorders. It's just that through the years, I have met many people that have had eating disorders, and I have not necessarily loved the advice that they were given. Mm-hmm. And so I have done my own research and am in the process of working through it myself. Mm-hmm. And then many other issues, I will go through bouts where I'm a little bit better, and then I go through bouts where I am not so good. Just to be clear, I am a binge eater, and I don't know, it doesn't have a cool catchy name like binging and purging. I'm just a binging and starving. Mm-hmm. So I will oftentimes wait for everyone else in the house to go to sleep, and like a raccoon in the night, I will binge eat. Yeah, just anything I can. And then the next day or two, I will just not eat and starve myself because I feel so guilty over doing that. Mm-hmm. And then that cycle continues. And I have had bouts where I've done all sorts of diets. So we'll touch on that in a minute. Mm-hmm. But it's just something that I thought, because I just came out a couple months ago acknowledging it to Callie and Caboose, that I was now is the time to actually we have a much better handle on it. So I feel we're able to talk about it publicly.
Yes, absolutely. And but, you know, give some insight to those of you who, I don't know, are listening. So if you have an eating disorder, or like you said, you love someone who has an eating disorder, or chances are you know somebody who has an eating disorder, how to help them, and then how to also just be with them in that journey of, I don't like the word recovery.
Yeah, because I feel I'm not 100% sure it'll ever be better. And I feel the recovery part is, I think it's more so something that we're just dealing with. Yeah. And it's just kind of a day-to-day thing, and taking steps and learning what works for me, because what works for me isn't going to work for anyone else.
Absolutely.
So that's where I was saying, if you need professional help, absolutely go and get it. Mm-hmm.
Or if you find that you don't want to go down that path, and you would rather, again, what you are doing, do your own research and try your best to figure out on your own while you can, then do that. Yeah. But I just don't like the word recovery because it insinuates that there is an end. And that sounds really dark, but I think of eating disorders like any other mental illness. If you suffer with anxiety or depression, a lot of the times it's not something that completely goes away. It's just something that we learn how to cope and how to live with and how to better handle it. Yep. So,
and then also the people in our lives can help with that.
Absolutely.
So... yeah. But yeah, so then that's it. All right. Good episode, y'all.
Oh, you're funny.
Bye.
You're funny. We're not done yet. We're not done yet. Do you want to talk about your journey with it? Where it started, where it ended, where you are now?
Yeah, so I think most other people who have had issues with food, it starts pretty young. I started dieting really as a kid. My mom went on a lot of diets, and that really impacted me. And this is nothing against her. It's just that, it's monkey see, monkey do. So for her hating her body and constantly doing things like Hydroxycut, Slim Fast, Jenny Craig, if it's a diet out there, I've done it. And I, like, the earliest that I can remember, I was 12 and I was doing Slim Fast, like, shakes.
Right, which is very common.
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, when I hear about a lot of, like, eating disorder origin stories, it happens around the age of 12, 13, 14, 15. Very common age. And we were kind of talking about it, and that's, like, the age in which you are, like, just so painfully, for the first time in the world, acutely aware of being perceived.
Yep.
And not to mention, like, the media consumption as well. Not just, like, from, like, other women in your life that are showing you these, like, toxic, bad habits around dieting and around eating food. But, like, a lot of people talk about America's Next Top Model with Tyra Banks. I was really lucky to never be exposed to that.
Yeah, I grew up in the era of, like, Kate Moss and Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera, and, like, nothing against these women personally, because it's the culture that we all grew up in, that, like, when you sit down having any sort of rolls on your stomach, you know, just natural, like, skin is the worst thing ever. So, like, you can, if you looked at pictures of me as a kid sitting down, there's always a pillow in front of my stomach. And it's because you're like, okay, I need to make sure that no one can see that there are, heaven forbid, rolls here.
That your body is just a body.
It's a body. That, like, I don't
in space and time.
look at Bailey and I'm like, oh no, this dog has a tiny little belly. Awful. Instead, I'm like, I love her little belly and I love, like, everything about her. But I was not able to, like, accept that about myself because I grew up in a culture where, like, skinny was the most important thing you could be.
No, for sure.
And so then I spent the last, 20 some odd years just like, hey, I'm gonna, like, try my best to just, like, diet myself to the smallest size. And then I luckily in my 20s found CrossFit and then was like, okay, we need to put on muscle mass. But then that also has its own just toxic culture, which is lean.
Yeah, that's big.
It's
in the fitness industry.
Yeah, in the fitness industry. If you cannot see all your muscles and your veins and nothing is popping, then, like, you are not doing it correctly.
Which is so painful. And so it gets rid of the fun of fitness.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the times I feel like people don't realize that, like, I don't know. They do realize it. They get upset at their results. They're like, why aren't I farther in this? I've been working out for X amount of time. It doesn't matter if it's been 2 days, 2 years, 2 decades. A lot of people get frustrated and sad about it, but it is, I think for me, it's so important to look at fitness through the lens of you're doing this for fun. You're doing this for your mental health. Me personally, it is a great confidence builder. And it's also just, like, a great reminder to connect to yourself, you know?
Yeah.
And we don't, I personally, I hate the idea of, like, someone going into fitness with the idea of, like, my body has to look a certain way. Your body's going to look how your body's going to look, you know?
Yeah, I just think it's hard because, like, that's, you know, that's what you're inundated with. You go on social media and all you see is like shredded individuals.
Yep.
So when you yourself are not genetically made up that way, like I'm made up to have body fat on me. I am not, like, I do not have a ridiculously high metabolism.
Yeah.
My body, like, she wants to be big. She's like, hey, let's be fluffy. Like, let's have, like, excess weight. Because that's just how it is. Like, I'm an easy gainer.
Yeah, I was about to say, what was the terminology of easy gainers versus hard gainers?
Yeah, I'm an easy gainer, which means I put on strength, like, relatively easily. I don't want to say fairly easily.
Because you work for all your gains.
Yeah, I work for it, but it comes fairly easily as opposed to somebody who has a much higher metabolism, who can eat a ton and stay lean. But then for them to put on muscle mass, they have to work
significantly harder.
So much harder.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that, like, one of them is better or worse. It's just that both have equal obstacles to them.
Draw of the trade. Draw of the genetic trade, really.
Yep. And like no one in my family is like super lean naturally. Like everyone is definitely on the easy gainer side.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. I'm a hard gainer, but it also I don't know, thinking about like your childhood and how it impacted, I guess, your relationship with food now. I grew up obviously in a Filipino, very Asian household. And I don't know, like I did skip the whole and this is going to sound like weird to a lot of people, but I did skip the whole weird relationship with food and weird relationship with your body. I did not.
I love that. I love that.
My philosophy always has been eat when you're full and then eat when you're hungry. And so like, I don't know, through building like intrinsic, I guess, eating habits, not everyone is, you know, fortunate enough to have grown up with that. It's definitely a rare thing. So when we like, you know, when you talk about like having an eating disorder and what it's like, it's so like crazy new to me.
Yeah.
That I'm like, holy fuck, dude. Like, I can't believe like the thought process alone is just nuts. Cause my brain is just like, oh, I'm hungry. I should probably eat something.
No,
and then
mine
I just
is
eat something.
Purely based on like what you get to eat and how much you get to eat is purely based off of like how I perceive what I see in the mirror.
Wow.
And how I perceive like when I look down at my body and like how clothes are fitting and how just like how like heavy I feel that day. So if I feel light, then I'm like, cool, awesome. I can have a slice of pizza or 7 because I can't ever tell when I'm full. It's why like when I was doing tracking macros, it was great in the sense that like I knew the rules of how much I could eat and like the breakdown of that. But it definitely is not a long-term solution because like one of the things I was talking to Caboose about the other day was that like for me, I absolutely despise nutrition labels. I fucking hate them. I like they upset me so much because like I have a really good memory. So if I read a nutrition label once, it's there forever.
Yeah.
And so as someone who's like, okay, cool. I know that I need X amount of carbs, protein, and fat every day because I learned how to track my macros. Then when we were at the liquor store and we were looking at just like mixers and I was like, fucking banana daiquiri is delicious. And I grabbed the bottle and as I grabbed it, I saw the nutrition label and it's like, of course, 0 protein, 0 fat, but 1 serving, which this bottle has 6 servings in it and 1 serving is 50 carbs. And I know from all the years of having coaches that I typically get around 150 to 170 carbs per day. And so I'm like, so if I have a serving of this, that's 1/3 of my carbs. Like and that knowledge will never leave my brain.
And it's hard because I think when it comes to tracking macros and like being coached on nutrition, take what you can take. I'm very big on like my relationship with food is very sacred to me. It's very fragile. I am aware that like I think it's fragile, but I don't know. It could not be. But I'm not willing to take the chances of delving into that and not being able to get rid of it. You know, it's a door that I kind of am okay with never opening.
I personally don't think it's worth it.
Yeah.
I definitely
Well, I think it's cool in the sense of like, you know, you do get better knowledge on like what is considered good protein. What are carbs? Like, what do carbs do to the body? What do sugars do to the body? I love the science aspect of it. I'm not in love with you have X amount of this per day to execute. Good fucking luck. Like, I'm not a big fan of that part.
Well, I think that it's one of those things that if it helps you, awesome.
Yeah.
Like, it definitely helped me learn. But it wasn't something that was like a long-term, like, hey, I do not want to weigh and measure every bit of food forever. And I also don't want to eat the same exact thing forever. And it's so just, I don't know, emotionally unpleasant for me to then eat the same stuff every day to stay that sort of lean. And everyone else loved me that lean. Everyone like had really nice things to say. And in the moment I was like, yeah, this is great. But then what would happen is that I would once again, like if I went over my macros one day, I would then just starve myself the next.
Well, here's
to
the
make
thing.
sure that like my weekly allotted macros still hit what they were supposed to.
Right. Yeah.
And that was it. Like, it doesn't necessarily
the lifestyle
teach,
is not.
It didn't teach me to have a healthy relationship with food. It just, much like a gambler with money, it just taught me how to cheat the system.
Right. Well, also, it doesn't teach you how to trust yourself either.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing about like intrinsic eating. I feel like for me, I don't think about like, every now and again, I'll be like, okay, Callie, well, you know what? You did have a slice of chocolate cake and then a donut, and then you also ate Oreos. So maybe we don't need this Starbucks drink. But I always tell myself, if I'm going to make an educated decision, and if it's the educated wrong decision, more power to me, because it's more so of like it's not like I'm tracking how much sugar I'm eating. I'm just like, no, I think the Starbucks drink is going to make me feel like shit. My belly's going to ache. But then I'm like, oh, worth it. You know, like sometimes I'm like, okay, it's totally fine. But I don't punish myself afterwards. That's what I'm missing here. You know what I mean? But again, to circle back to like the whole like tracking thing, it's cool knowledge, but it's also a double-edged sword. If it works for you, great. But like long-term wise, it doesn't teach you how to trust yourself and also listen to your body and be like, am I hungry right now?
But I think that's like, the thing in and of itself, is that like, I can't tell you when I'm hungry. Like this part of you that says, hey, I'm hungry, does not turn on. It takes me being like, oh, I'm lightheaded, to them. Like Caboose and I were working out earlier and I was like, oh dude, why am I like almost passing out during this workout? And then I had to be like, oh, because all you had today was a smoothie, which was all I craved and all I wanted. Right.
It's just the time got away from
you. But like then the next thing I know, it's 4:00 in the afternoon and you've had a smoothie and a protein shake and that's all you've had today. And I'm like, oh, that's probably why. But even now, if you're like, hey, here's a plate of food, I don't feel hungry.
Interesting.
Like I do not feel, it's the same thing. Like I don't feel satiated when I eat, unless I eat an absurd amount of food that like I have a distended belly. Do I feel like, hey, now I'm full? It's more so for me that I see like a portion of what's on a plate, which is also why, like, if you have kids, don't tell them to eat everything on their fucking plate. It's the worst advice you can ever give, because as a 35-year-old person who is now like having to learn that like portion sizes are fucking massive. And like only through like watching her and doing monkey see, monkey do now am I like, hey, maybe we don't need all of that, because we can look at the size of that portion and be like, hey, don't eat that whole thing. But my brain does not tell me I am full until that plate is clear. Yeah. Because that's all the years of my parents being like, you need to clear your plate. Yeah. They're starving children all around the world. Clean your plate.
Yeah. Which I think I also just happened to get lucky, because I was raised with that too. Like, you have to clean your plate. And I honestly, there were nights where they're like, you can't leave the table unless the plate is empty. And I would outweight them. I would spend 3 hours at the table and they'd be like, okay, you're done. And I'm like, yeah, because I was fucking done 3 hours ago, but like, you forced me to stay at the table, but I'm not going to eat it.
My mom did that to my brother once and then just served him the same food the next morning.
Damn.
So that's like crazy. I learned like, I mean, like, it was, like you clean your fucking plate.
Fuck, that's nuts.
And it's not like we were eating amazingly nutritionally dense food, because we grew up poor. Right. So we were eating stuff like I was clearing the plate and it was Hamburger Helper, which is not necessarily like covering the rainbow of veggies there.
Right.
Like, it wasn't like, hey, we want to make sure you're hitting those fruits and veggies so you can get your macronutrients and your micronutrients. No, I want you to just clear your plate because of guilt.
Yeah.
Because there are starving children places.
And yeah, like, that's where the cycle of like weird shame with that like relationship with food, not only like how you perceive yourself, but like even just like the action of eating. And that's where I missed it. I'm like, dude, I don't know. It's nuts.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Yeah. But I want to dig a little bit into like when I told you a couple months ago, because I listened to Glennon Doyle's episode of We Can Do Hard Things, where she talked about her eating disorder. And just to be clear, I've known that I've had a problem with food for a very long time. Like, it has always been there. So if you were a nutrition coach and I checked the box that said, no, I don't have an eating disorder, it's because I use the excuse of, well, I've never been diagnosed. And just a quick sidebar on that, a lot of therapists will not tell you what your diagnoses are unless they're medicating you. Right. So like for me, when I talked to my therapist and I was like, hey, like, what are my diagnoses? Like, what areas should I be like researching to work on? And he was like, I don't tell any of my patients what their like issues are. Right. So like, as somebody with some OCD tendencies and some like neurodivergent pathways, he never like told me any of that. Right. It's the fact that I read enough and I have enough self-awareness to be like, oh, that's you.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that like fits exactly.
Right.
And when I listened to Glennon open up about her eating disorder, and I was like, fucking shit. If she has the courage to tell the world about this,
right.
I was like, I can at the very least tell the people that mean the most to me that this is a problem, because it's been just this giant skeleton in my closet forever. And if you do have this problem and you don't know how to tell people, fucking make them listen to this episode so they can hear her advice first. Because her reaction to it was better than I could have ever imagined, because just like, if you do suffer from this, you know that like telling people feels like it's going to make it so much worse. And in a lot of ways it does make it worse, because then I worry that like, okay, so every time I eat, or like today when I just genuinely wasn't hungry, not in like a bad way, but just genuinely I wasn't hungry.
Yeah.
I then worry that I'm like, oh no, are they going to think that I'm like starving myself again?
Right.
Or are they, you know, like, am I going to have to deal with an intervention? Like, what am I going to have to deal with?
Yeah. You had a lot of like you had worries outside of yourself when it came to like telling us. And I remember you told us, and you were like, I don't want you guys to feel like weird about like if I am eating versus, and if I'm not eating, and blah, blah, blah. And I just genuinely looked at her and I said, dude, that's not my burden to carry. And I was like, I love you so much. Genuinely, you're an adult. You're going to have to take care of that yourself, because it is genuinely like, and of course, like, you know, as someone who loves her, there is that intrinsic, like, you obviously like pack mentality. You want to take care of your pack members if you're suffering or whatever, but that's genuinely like not something that I can help with. That is your journey. And I was like, well, if you're not eating, then I'm just going to trust that you're making the right decision for you. And it's off my plate. I'm not stressed about it, because that's what you should do for people who are suffering with eating disorders, depression, anxiety, whatever. Of course, be there for them when they ask you, but like, don't try to take that on as like your burden, as your backpack, as your weight to carry, because it puts more pressure on you guys. Yeah. It genuinely puts more pressure on them, because now, on top of being worried about like how they're doing mentally, they're worried about how you're doing mentally, how blah, 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 you know, it spirals. It
genuinely like made it so much easier. So like, I don't walk around the house like, I have an eating disorder. But I will, like, if I'm going to do stuff, or if I need like help with accountability. So like, we ordered in tonight and I was like, hey, I want one piece of naan. And because like, I know that that's like, it's delicious. So it's a slippery slope for me to like binge eat and then feel really bad. Whereas like one will genuinely satisfy the taste. And I know that because I've done all this work to get to this point, but having that like extra accountability to be like, hey, I'm going to have one piece. And even if I was like, dude, I'm going to have two, she would be like, okay, bet, have two. I don't give a shit.
Oh yeah.
But it's just like being able to speak it out loud gives me that like accountability. Yeah. So then instead of eating for the sake of eating, I am learning to eat like portions that make sense for my body and make my body feel good hours later.
And that's the thing. Like, I'm not like, as someone outside of the issue, I'm not going to hound you on like, well, you did say you're going to have one. Bitch, that's not my fucking decision to make anymore. Again, you're an adult. I'm going to I trust you to do whatever you need to do. And even when you're like struggling or anything like that, a lot of it is like, I can't help you. You have to fall on your face for that. That's genuinely something that I can't like hound you on. No.
And like, we're aware that it's going to be a long, bumpy journey.
Yes.
But
which is
hopefully,
fine. So is life. Yeah. So is everything.
Like, it just is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's, I can't really give any other advice when it comes to this, genuinely, as someone who, I don't know, is separated from the issue. For those of you listening who don't have an eating disorder, but want to help, you know, either people who do, again, just realize that it's not your burden to carry. Don't put your pressure on them. Don't hound them. Yeah. This is something they have to figure out.
Yeah, it's awesome. And don't fucking make people go to a fucking doctor about it. Because honestly, like, I'm not interested in that.
I've read some of the, like, you know, care things, because there was a booth that we went to at, like, Pride or whatever, and they were, you know, helping people with eating disorders. And I read a pamphlet, and I was just like, ooh, that doesn't even work for me. And I don't even have an eating disorder. Like, it just was not. Yeah. It wasn't great. Yeah. So if that's not something they want to do, then.
Yeah. Like, honestly, I would say like find
Yeah.
people who you can resonate with and find books or like literature that they've written that makes sense to you. And also you can take other lessons and like take them into life. Cause like for me, kind of dissecting like where this problem comes from and understanding the physiological side, that like I've talked to a nutritionist about the like fact that I never feel hungry. And he's like, oh yeah, that's a chemical like hormone imbalance that you have that like there's no fixing it. Like we tried like a funky fun diet where he's like, hey, maybe we like try increasing your fat. So we did keto for a minute because he's like, that will tend to make you feel more satiated. He's like, and then slowly we can introduce like more carbs in there. And no, I didn't do shit. Like I still cannot tell. So now I have to take like the knowledge that I have from tracking macros, from doing paleo, from doing zone, from doing all these other things to be like, hey, this looks like it's about the correct amount. And then stop at that point and be like, hey, if you're hungry again later, then you can eat more later. But we're eating to make our body feel good in the long term. And we're not like doing it to look a certain way anymore, because she also had amazing advice on that when we started talking about like, hey, I don't know like how to like do this because I have been on a diet or in that like aftermath of a diet, which if you've ever been on a diet, you know what it's like when you come off a diet and you're like, fuck you, I'm gonna fucking eat all the cheesecake ever. Yep. And so I have been a yo-yo dieter since the age of 11 and like have just always done that. And it is still so tempting because I genuinely go back to that place of like, this diet will fix my life.
Right.
This is the diet that will like change everything. It will fix my relationship with food. It will fix the way that I want my body to look, which genuinely is not realistic because I like drinking. I like fucking eating carbs. I want to be able to have pizza. I want to have Indian food.
Yeah.
I want to have a social life that does not involve me feeling like I cannot eat at events. Yeah. Feeling like I have to like always skip sweets.
That, and like you also want a life where you like, you know, like your body, which it sounds easier than like said, obviously, or you know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say. But I was waiting. I like had been sitting on this thought for a while, but I was just kind of like waiting because like I think timing wise, it just wasn't ready to be shared. And it was, I think, I would say like a little bit afterwards, but I was waiting because you got coached with nutrition recently, and then you hopped off of it, and you know, obviously you were saying to me that like, oh, it's like a cycle, you know, I just need to hop back on and then I'll hop off and then I'll hop back on when I need to. And in my brain, I was like, ooh, okay. And I think what I said was like, I mean, like maybe if you just invested more of your effort and time and work really hard right now to enjoy and love your body the way it is right now, it would save you a lot of time in the future being stuck in this vicious cycle of dieting, liking your body, hating your body, dieting, falling off, and then it's just a cycle over and over and over again. So if you do all the hard work now to appreciate and love your body, it'll save you all that whole cycle that you're just going to go through all over again. Yeah. For years and years and years. And that's what you've been doing. Yeah, it's been a couple months. Hence the OnlyFans. We'll get to that in a second and how that's part of this journey. Yes. But it's, I would honestly say it's working. Obviously some days are better than others. Yeah. And we talk about everything. So we're really vocal. So if I have a day where I'm like, hey, it's a bad brain day. Yeah. Cause we've been very good at correcting that language too. Cause she used to say it's just a bad body day. And I said, girl, it's never a bad body day. It's a bad brain day. Yes. Cause as someone who doesn't struggle with food and who has like a really good, like honest to God perception of my own body, I still have bad brain days where I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm wearing an extra human suit right now. Yes. You know what I mean? And that's the worst. And you wait and you never know what's going to happen because genuinely some days you just wake up and the second you wake up, you're like, oh, I hate it. Like I hate the way I feel, you know? And we've been very good on correcting language like that. Bad brain day, not a bad body day. Bad brain day. Yeah. And then on those days we're vocal. And then, and like some steps that I've been doing,
is that like we were talking about this earlier, that like when I get dressed now, I don't look in the mirror until after I see how I feel. So like I get dressed and we have like a walk-in closet and I just get dressed in there and I pick stuff out and then I'm like, hey, how does this feel? I've also thrown out every item of clothing because everyone that like has this has like a specific part of their body. And if, as you can tell based on like my descriptions earlier of Christina Aguilera, Kate Moss,
she's like, y'all
Britney
know
Spears,
exactly
you know it's my stomach because that's what most people's issue is. So anything that cuts in, fucking got rid of it. I was like, I don't care. I will have way less pants. And then I will only purchase things that when I put them on, make me feel good. I've stopped looking at sizes.
Yes.
So I'm just like, fuck it. Like I grab a couple sizes from a rack that I'm like, oh, I think I'm somewhere between like a 7 and 11. We'll just grab some sizes and whatever size of those pants fits. Yeah. But if when I sit down, it feels not nice. So like when I sit in the dressing room, then I don't fucking get it. And if it feels any sort of compression on my stomach, then I'm like, you can fuck off.
Because I don't matter how cute the jeans are.
No.
The jeans are supposed to fit you. You are not supposed to fit into the jeans. Yeah. So don't even, that's the thing is like clothes aren't, first of all, human beings weren't even designed to wear clothes.
No.
All right. This is like an alien thing that we're putting on our bodies because of some stupid motherfucker decided that modesty was a thing and whatever. But, you know.
Yeah. So like anything, literally anything that makes me feel uncomfortable. And that can be from underwire to like just the like snugness of jeans. I have fucking said, nope, I'm not wearing that.
Which is lovely.
And it feels so much better because like yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. I had like a bad brain day when I first woke up, not even a whole day. I had a bad brain morning. I woke up and I was like, dude, I feel so heavy, like just heavy in like my guts. And I was going out to breakfast with my husband and a friend. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to put on leggings because that'll make me like feel better. And Caboose had mentioned that he was like, oh, I think crop tops are really cute. But, you know, crop tops when you don't like your belly are like, And shout out to Born Primitive. They have amazing leggings for me. So I had Born Primitive because they're slightly higher waisted. And then I found like a crop top that I was like, oh, I mean, I'll just see how it feels. And I put it on and I was like, dude, I feel so fucking cute. And then after I like decide like how I feel in it, which is it soft? Is it like nice and like I can move in it? Then I will look in the mirror and I require myself every time I look in the mirror to say 3 nice things. So like, oh my God, your butt looks amazing. Your quads are giant and your traps look so good. And then that's it. And so like I will make a point to say those 3 things about every time I look in the mirror. And like I said, it's only been a couple months, but it's definitely getting better because now I can vocalize like to them, like, hey, like this is what I'm doing food wise. So that way no one worries, but it also just like allows me to speak it out loud because that inner narrative of constantly all the time. Cause you know, if you do have an issue with eating, bro, like 90% of my thoughts are about food.
Yeah.
And it's dumb because they're either about the last thing I ate or the next thing I'm going to eat or what I really want to eat, but I can't eat or like what I should eat. And it's just constantly about food. And it's such a fucking waste of energy.
Absolutely.
So taking like her very brutal, but very poignant advice on taking the energy now to work on being like, hey, look, like this is the body you're born in.
Yeah.
This is the body you're going to die in. So we may as well like work on loving it right now and work on like loving it long term rather than constantly being like, hey, all this energy and money that I put into fucking dieting to try to like be super skinny, lean, all that kind of shit. Like it honestly feels like a better way of spending that same energy. So like earlier today when I was clearing out more shit out of my closet and I did what all of us end up doing at one point where I like put stuff on and I was like, oh, this is kind of cute. And then I had like a little bit of a roll and I went and like pinched my roll and I was looking in the mirror. And when I pinched my roll, I was like, bitch, you better stop pinching me.
Yeah.
And like, I like to think of it as like my like issues with eating and my body issues are like an external voice. Cause that's not how I feel. I don't fucking look at people and go, oh my God, how gross are you? You have a roll or like judge them based off of their body whatsoever.
Yes.
And that's like how body images have changed as well. But like when I do that, then I'm like, if you pinch me one more time, ho, I'm gonna fucking hit you.
Oh, absolutely.
And that way it puts that bitch back in their place.
Yes, because like let's talk about that narrative. That narrative is not you. And my biggest philosophy growing up and like just, you know, body positivity wise is I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'm getting sick. Anyways, my biggest philosophy is, you know, we have such a short amount of time on this planet, and to be crude, if this is your meat suit that you inhabit in this very short amount of time, girl, why wouldn't you just love it?
Yeah.
Just love it. Because here's the thing is like, this is our like spaceship in this crazy experience called life. This is what we inhabit. This is our vessel. That's the word I'm looking for. This is our vessel. You might as well love it, and you might as well spend every last second on earth. And I'm not saying that, like, again, as someone with a pretty good perception of like my body, again, sometimes bad brain days happen, but like notice that that's not on your vessel. That's on your brain. Your brain just has a bad day sometimes, and that's okay. But don't take it out on your vessel. You deserve to eat what you want. You deserve to feel great in it. You deserve to love it. And I know a lot of you are probably thinking, bitch, easy for you to say because you're pretty, but you're also pretty.
Yep.
Fucking respect your body. It's a disrespect to your vessel to spend time, I don't know, bullying it. Don't do that.
It's also disrespectful to your brain.
Yes. Yes.
And it's such a waste of energy. And as someone who's battled this my whole life and then continues to battle it, it is a fucking waste of energy to constantly just be hopping on and off diets.
Yeah.
Like I mentally, like I know what to eat. I know what to fucking drink. I know what to do to like optimize the health of my body. Do I always want to? No, because broccoli gets boring. It's that fucking simple. If you can eat broccoli every day, props to you.
Yeah, I want big ol' Mewtwo legs, but sometimes I would rather shoot myself in the foot than drink a protein shake.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
You're such a fucking nerd.
Why?
You referenced a Pokemon for your legs.
Because that Mewtwo has giant ass quads, dude. Have you seen Mewtwo?
Nerd alert right here. Massive nerd.
I want big ass fucking horse legs.
Yeah.
But sometimes, I would say, not even sometimes, most of the time, fuck a protein shake. I just don't feel like drinking it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we know what we need to, you know, optimize, again, lifts, optimize health, optimize, like, intensity for training, blah, 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 whatever. Yep. However, you do still need to keep intact with what you need emotionally.
Yeah.
You know?
Which is sometimes mimosas, sometimes it's Indian food.
Yeah, because I was like, y'all, I'm feeling
with lots of butter.
Yes. I was like, I want Indian food tonight.
Yeah. Going back a little bit to what we were saying about like loving like your vessel.
Yeah.
There's also nothing wrong with changing stuff that you don't love about your vessel. So like I just had some laser done on my face to remove like a sunspot that I had that I was pretty self-conscious about. Which I get no one else is fucking noticing it. Yeah. But I know the exact day that motherfucker came in. It was a road trip with us moving out here, and it's bugged me for years. And so I just had some laser done on it, and it's going away. And also, like, that's the same thing with, like we're talking about, like, decorating the vessel you're in. So, like, if you want piercings and tattoos, things that enhance what you already have, abso-fucking-lutely. And obviously, if you don't feel healthy, then, like, yeah, absolutely, eat your fruits, veggies, do all that. But it's about, like, embracing the body that you have.
Yes.
And, like, where your body is going to naturally sit at. Because, like, that's the thing with me is that, like, I kept battling the fact that, like, I am a 155, like, pound individual. My body has been at that 155 range most of my life. Like, once I hit puberty, that's where it was like, hey, I want to be at 155. And I have, like, I've weighed more than that. And I've weighed less than that. But, like, that is where it, like, wants to sit at. And the amount of effort for me to put in to stay leaner is not, for me, worth it.
Yeah.
But, like, for me, getting, like, a bit of laser, getting piercings makes me feel like I am celebrating. And, like, getting tattoos, I feel like I'm celebrating my vessel.
That's the word that yes, that is exactly the word that I was missing in that statement. Because, again, there's nothing wrong with changing your body so long as it's in the light of celebrating it. Not in the light of hating it. Like, we're done with that. That is old news. We're here for body positivity only.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. We are all about body positivity. And
Mm-hmm.
that goes everything, like the entire spectrum of bodies.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's like an ideal body. I think that's bullshit. We were talking about this earlier today, that like I am built like a Greek sculpture.
Yes.
If you put me next to like any Greek sculpture of a woman, that is what I look like. Like I've got the fucking long second toe.
Yeah.
I've got like the belly. I've got the muscles that like I can stand next to like a like fucking Athena and like, what up, bitch? You and I look the same. I just have a better haircut. But speaking about celebrating our bodies, that brings us to our last like point that we really wanted to talk about, which is OnlyFans. And this is my OnlyFanager right
Hi,
here.
my name is Callista, and I am Gaia's OnlyFanager.
She helps me with like choosing which pictures, or mostly just choosing what like filters that I'm going to put on them.
Yeah, that, and like I love helping with PR stuff. I'm like, oh, if you did this, I got you. Oh, I love that shit. It is so much fucking fun. I am living vicariously through you. And in this OnlyFans journey, we are celebrating your body. And you're really like, I love this new arc.
Thanks.
Yes, this new character arc of Gaia with her OnlyFans is so fucking positive. I'm here for it.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I decided to opt to do that. So in case you don't know, I have an OnlyFans. You can search it. It's literally just my name, Gaia Marika.
And it's great. It's fabulous.
Let's be really clear. I'm not making porn. You will not see my genitals. At most, you're going to see my nips, but you will pay extra for that. But I opted to do this because we have been if you've listened to previous episodes, trying to work on me finding a hobby. Yeah. Because I am a bit of a workaholic, and we're trying to like make me celebrate life more and not just only work and be like a one note individual who has one thing and that's it. And also working on loving my body and being more like inclined to be more of a sexual being, and also just feeling beautiful in my vessel.
Yes, because when I first met you, you were so determined to not be viewed in any sexual light at all whatsoever, and I was very femme when you first met me, and I still am. She's still a part of me, but like
I'm doing a swap.
We are doing a little bit of a swap, and we'll talk about that later, but this OnlyFans arc is amazing because I feel like a lot of people think she just started an OnlyFans for the financial benefit. Girl, she does not need that. This OnlyFans journey is so special for me to watch because it's helping in so many aspects. There's so many layers of this. Not only are you're profiting off of it, but like more importantly, you're delving back into your love of photography, and then actually this is you celebrating your body. Yeah. And like, it's so cool because it's art, you know, like not only are you photographing these things and like creating amazing shoots, but like you are celebrating your body and every inch of it and being like, bitch.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's probably like body wise, one of the like more therapeutic things I've ever done. I would actually equate it very much to like working out, how like working out for me is a celebration of my body. Yes. I don't work out. I started working out with like an hour on a treadmill and fucking trying to be as small as possible. And I hated it. Yeah. And then when I got into CrossFit, I then started like learning how to build muscle. And so now for me, working out is a very like mentally, like fulfilling thing because I'm celebrating all of which my body can like accomplish. Yes. And then like photographing it because like photography is my first artistic like love. Like I had a camera in my hand at a very young age because my dad did photography. And going back to that is something that I genuinely love. And then also being able to share like, hey, this is my body. And like, I put fun filters on, but I don't like, I refuse to airbrush anything. Yes. If there is a bug bite, a stretch mark, like folds, rolls, whatever, that's what I fucking look like. Yeah. And whereas that's also massively different from 20-year-old me who was doing photography and heavily photoshopped everything. I would Photoshop my arms to be smaller. I'd Photoshop my breasts to be larger, which is also dumb because I've always had like good sized boobs. And at that point they were way bigger. So like, why the fuck are you like Photoshopping them to make them bigger? I mean, but I'd Photoshop my like waist smaller. I'd Photoshop out any acne I had. And at this point I'm just like, y'all, this is my OnlyFans is purely for me to like create a medium where I want to like post and not necessarily post like, I'm not going to post up like half naked pic. I probably eventually will because that's like where this arc is more than likely going. But at this point, I'm not going to just post up like, here's my tits, y'all.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah. No, I fucking love it. It's just so wonderful to watch you just like come into yourself finally, giving your vessel the love that it deserved even. Like, it's been a long time coming. So y'all should subscribe. I'm not even just saying that because like I'm the fanager. Like, it's great. Like, you have an eye for it. The silhouettes of the
She doesn't get a kickback.
No, I don't get paid for this shit.
No.
So like
she's just really excited because I'm a genuine numbers person.
Yeah.
And so like as it like keeps bumping up and I'm at top 16% of creators right now.
I'm so proud. I know, this is so exciting.
That I'm just like, hey, what's up? Let's see how high we can take this.
Oh, for sure.
While still staying in integrity with myself. Because it's great because you get weird like things where people are like, are you going to involve toys? I'm like, no.
Yeah. Well, like, and still keeping it fun too. I love the fact that you're very big on like, no, this is for me. Yeah. You guys all my subscribers are just along for the ride. Y'all can leave whenever you want, but this is for me. So I'm doing what I want.
It feels the same route as the podcast does that I'm like, look, I love if you listen to us and you finish all the episodes and all that shit, or you just listen to an episode every once in a while. I love you so much for coming on this journey. But to be really honest, even if you guys didn't listen, we would still be making a podcast because it fills our cups. And that's what like OnlyFans does for me, is that it fills my artistic venture and my like loving my body and being like happy in the vessel that I'm currently in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you have any questions for our wrecking balls? Do we have anything else on the agenda?
No, that was it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was one hell of an episode.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions for us, please let us know. Let me know if you're struggling with an eating disorder. If you're not struggling with an eating disorder,
she'll give you some really hard advice, which is stop wasting your energy on diets and spend that same energy on loving yourself.
Yes, because genuinely, and I get it, like sometimes you just need to be in a different place to hear that advice, but it's the best advice I could ever give because it I don't know, you just get so much more time back, and the benefits are just so rewarding, and it doesn't matter what body type you have. I need to stress this more than anything because like you said, you were 20 years old photoshopping your boobs to be bigger when you've already had big boobs. Obviously, like, it doesn't matter what body type you have. There are always going to be some external talk, chatter saying you shouldn't look like this, you shouldn't be like this. No, the biggest fuck you can give to the world and to the patriarchy and to this bullshit beauty standard that anyone has ever put on you is to love yourself the way that you've come on this planet. So tell everyone to fuck off and just love yourself.
And my advice would be, if you have even thought for 2 seconds, hey, I want to do an OnlyFans, fucking just do it. It's the same thing with a podcast. You just do it. I promise it's not that hard. Like, if we can do it, which you don't have an OnlyFans, but if we can do a podcast and I can do OnlyFans, you can do it too, I promise.
Yes. And you never know, it'll come with way more rewards than you could have possibly ever imagined, not even just financially. So I think that's it for this episode.
Thank you guys so much, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.